we had a pretty large bang associated with the caution and warning now. Okay, so we have an apparent serious oxygen leak.
4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, Houston, we've had a problem. He's in a roll and he can't stop it. Performing an evasive maneuver. Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here. I think we need to do a little more all-weather testing.
Welcome to space. Space.
Hello, listener, and welcome to Failure to Launch, the space history podcast where we take you through all the mistakes, failures, and explosions that made modern space exploration possible. We are your hosts, Quinn, he, him.
Chris, he, him.
You can do yours, Milo.
Oh, hello, hi.
Or we can ring you in WWE style.
Well, I wasn't sure if that was the cue for me because I'm not a host. But anyway, yes, hello,
Oh, yeah, sorry, my bad.
my name's
Guest host.
Milo. I guess I'm a man as well. How embarrassing. We fucked this. We fucked the lineup.
No, we fucked up significantly worse.
I like how this is
Chris,
sort
you've
of
been
like...
delaying your cue for like 20 seconds now.
I know. Hi, I'm one of many Chris's. My pronouns are he and
I
him.
love how this is like our welcome to the Eric Andre show guest who has no idea how the show works moments. And it happens.
It's all
happens
nonsense.
every single time.
Yeah, because I'm bad at explaining things. Obviously, it's part of our brand. And today, we are going to be diving into the first man in space's second job, basically being the Soviet version of Andrew Tate.
Oh.
Now, as you heard, we have a guest. Milo Edwards is a comedian and podcaster on such shows as Trash Future, Glue Factory, and Masters of Our Domain. He has also spent a good deal of time living in Russia, so we thought he would be a good candidate to help us dissect the weird post-flight life of Yuri Gagarin. Milo, thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here to talk about one of the biggest dogs that's ever lived. I mean, apart from all of the dogs that they sent to space before him.
Oh.
R.I.P.
Patron saint of one-way trips.
I suppose it's fair
I mean,
to say
let's be
that-
clear, they're all dead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, even the ones
Not
that came
just like
back
her.
are now dead.
I did want to say that to have ever lived, asterisk, they died,
Oh.
Yeah. Well, you know that they stuffed Belka and Strelka.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're
in the
a
Cosmonaut
museum in
museum.
Moscow.
Yeah, I've been there.
I wish the Kennedys had stuffed Fluffy, Pushinka, the space dog puppy that they got from, I think, Khrushchev.
I thought you were going to say you wish they'd stuffed Kennedy. I was like, now that would have been a
Too.
policy. Yeah.
Just have
Fuck
the,
Mount
have the
Rushmore, just
entire
Kennedy in the Oval
family-
Office.
That would have been a reconstruction project.
Oh. Well, no, you pose it from the front. You just pose it in such a way that you
Are
don't
you saying
see.
just like angle him just right and everything looks normal?
Now, right off the bat, this is not going to be a full accounting of Yuri Gagarin's life from his flight in orbit in 1961 to his death in 1968. There's just too much to unpack there, and we will definitely be covering stuff like his world tours in more detail in future episodes.
Speaking of unpacking things, Quinn, if it's ever your time, do you want us to get you stuffed and put in a museum?
Ideally, yeah, but like we'd have to
Like
go
we can
over
get
the
you like a little
posing
gold
and
plaque
whatnot.
that reads like a talk show host.
Although, depending on how
Yeah.
I go, if you guys are gonna fucking like Komarov me, like open casket with a bit of burnt carbon, don't bother.
I think you should be posed behind a desk with a podcasting microphone with a big banner above you that says "Prove me wrong."
Subtext: proven wrong.
Well, I mean, it's pretty easy to prove a dead
Dark
guy
Souls
wrong.
victory banner.
We can stencil like a little ghost of what's his face on there for you to
Like a space. Let me help out.
Yeah.
Space
Bad
figure
guy.
or
space bad.
Glushko?
No, face
Von
punch.
Braun?
Sibrel.
Oh, okay. Bart Seibel. Yeah.
Get old Mr. BS on the his little ghost is there, and you're fighting him with your words or whatever. We'll have to
Facts and logicking
workshop
the moon landing
posing
guy.
to make it look like you're still talking and thinking.
No, you're just punching him square in the face. Just channeling your inner
You're not
Armstrong.
like a desiccated husk sitting at a desk. We have to maintain the illusion of your existence.
No, we have to do the thing that they do where, instead of having a withered Jesus on the cross, he has to be like turbo muscular, six packs, abs, and
draw
everything.
him like conservatives draw cartoons of Trump.
I don't know. I find depictions of like when people are like, "Oh, this guy's dead. How shall we commemorate?" Like really fascinating. Did you see recently that there was a Rod Stewart concert where he did like a tribute to Ozzy Osbourne?
I did not.
I need to.
He
find
puts
this.
up AI images of like Ozzy Osbourne
that.
with other dead like pop stars like in heaven. But the thing is that like the first person that he showed him with was Michael Jackson, and I was like, quite rude to imply that like the first person he would hang out with is notorious pedophile Michael Jackson.
Notably, man who made it to heaven, Michael Jackson.
Yeah, like you're in heaven and like you can hang out with anyone who's ever lived, and you're like immediately like Michael Jackson.
Boom.
Yeah, take me to Neverland.
I feel like a cognito hazard has been inflicted upon me. What is this?
We'll find you the pictures, but so what I did want to focus on with this, instead of Gagarin's entire life and like traveling the world and whatnot, is how he used the power of the Soviet state for his own goals, because he quickly becomes this huge celebrity. But he is not a puppet. He has his own beliefs. He has his own goals. And he quickly becomes like an incredible and expert party apparatchik. And he was motivated. He was willful. And he did have a lot of his own beliefs that were, I'll call them a little reactionary, which we are going to get into today. As for sourcing, the main source I used for this episode is the book The Cosmonaut Who Couldn't Stop Smiling by Russian history professor and friend of the show, Andrew Jenks. I also do need to note that he was on Deadliest Warriors that one time.
You always know
We've got to debunk this immediately. No Russian has ever smiled, much less not been able to stop smiling. This is ridiculous. Ahistorical.
It may like Yuri. There were all these rumors about him getting plastic surgery to hide the massive fucking scar on his forehead. So maybe they just kind of like tilted it up a little bit for him for propaganda measures.
That scar on his forehead was from his hair replacement surgery in Turkey.
Horrible accident, sir. So I would also highly recommend Professor Andrew Jenks's book. As always, all links will be down below in the show notes. And if you want to hear him describe some of this in his own words, we do have an interview with him, I believe, from a year or two ago.
First Mujik in space.
I am using that right? It means like cool dude, one of the boys, like a good old Russian lad.
Yeah, mujik. How would I define this word? It's sort of like
I know it has like a peasant kind of connotation, but
it's now this is not going to help you at all, but it's quite close to the British word geezer, which is very different from the American connotation of the word geezer.
Because he wasn't old.
No, I have a very specific mental image of a British geezer in my head that I'm rotating.
Yeah, I don't know where the American usage of geezer comes from, but in the UK it means it refers to like a type of guy generally from the southeast of England who you're like one of the lads, like sort of like everyone in a Guy Ritchie film is a geezer, like that type of guy, like a sort of like, no thank you Turkish, I'm sweet enough, that's geezer right there. And it's similar to that, like it kind of like mujika has this like implication of kind of like no nonsense working class, like bit of a legend, like that's sort of the
vibe. Okay, and because that is exactly what Gagarin goes for.
Okay.
Now, Yuri Gagarin launched into orbit on the morning of April 12th, 1961. Though he spent a little less than 2 hours in orbit, the flight changed Gagarin in a lot of ways. For example, when he launched, he was a first lieutenant, but he landed as a major.
What a week.
Yeah. It's explicitly written, or it's written as like they promote him once because he gets into space and they're like, oh shit, this guy's about to be famous. We can't have put a first lieutenant into orbit. So they promote him to captain, and then someone at the Kremlin is like, that's still way too low. You need to promote him again.
It's like Captain Tom when he started doing laps of his garden. They were like, we got to up that to major.
Every 50 laps, he goes up in rank.
Yeah, that's right. Well, if he'd have been a bit more physically fit, maybe he'd have made it to like brigadier or something.
Well, So, and another thing is that from the very beginning, his spacecraft was designed to like eject him before landing. Like the Vostok, that first spacecraft had an ejector seat. But officially, he landed with the spacecraft because there was all kinds of legalese stuff of like, basically for the first in space record to count, you kind of have to land with your spacecraft.
That doesn't make any sense. Like if whether or not you land with the spacecraft doesn't change the fact that you were in space.
But it does kind of track with a lot of like official record keeping, because whenever they launch him into orbit, it's not just for this is the first time a human has done this. They're fighting for an actual legal prize that like an international body is going to give them. In the same way that like summiting a mountain technically only counts if you survive and make it back down. Like if you die at the top of Everest, you technically didn't make it up to Everest.
It's better if you die at the top. That's fine. Like a real bloke.
Everest just slowly becoming a nice, gentle hill from all the corpses of dentists just piled and frozen.
It's slowly growing taller.
What do you want to live for? Talk to a bloke at the bottom? Nah.
Oh god, if they had Leica'd Yuri Gagarin, just launched him up like first man in space. Woo!
Use her poison food pellet. You gotta be hungry.
Going up is really only half of the battle, though. I mean, like, you have to come back down. Like,
yeah,
returning is part of the journey.
But then again, if we're talking about the definition, Leica was the first animal in space, and she didn't come back down alive, at least.
Oh yeah, she's still just orbiting up there.
I don't think she's still up there. I think it burned up pretty quick.
Yeah. I think the craft I think they recovered the craft, didn't they? But it's like they cooked the dog to death in space.
Yeah,
because they didn't realize how hot it would get in there.
Yeah, she died of overheating pretty quick.
Yeah, you know how most of our inventions come from like trying to invent something else. You know, like how like Viagra, they were trying to make like a heart medication. Well, it's like the same thing. Like, you know,
this is where the gas station hot dog turner came from.
Yeah, like the Russians were trying to, you know, put a dog in space, but what they actually did was invent air fryers. Like, you know,
the first ever air fryer in space. There it goes.
Oh. The point I'm trying to make is that from the moment he was picked to become the first human in orbit, Yuri Gagarin was no longer in control of his own life, or at least his story. It became the property of the Soviet state and was immediately rewritten to be more convenient for the story they wanted to tell. And that was just the first draft. Over the years and decades, Yuri's story was co-opted, rewritten, and retold 1,000 times by whoever in the Soviet Union needed him to look or sound a certain way. We talked about this in a couple of early episodes, how through different flavors and audiences of propaganda, entirely different versions of Yuri Gagarin evolved. You had Yuri the Soviet everyman, Yuri the childhood role model, Yuri the sex symbol, to name a few. You could just collect all of your different Yuris, yeah.
I'm now trying to picture Yuri Gagarin and how hot he was.
He may have fucked Italian supermodel Gina Lollobrigida.
Hello, all right.
Pretty famous for cheating on his wife. He had a huge scar on his forehead from where he famously got caught trying to like cheating on his wife. So he dove out a second-story window and like face planted into a curb.
That is the most Russian way to injure yourself. Like the idea of like, you know, you spent your entire life as like a test pilot and an astronaut and you have a huge scar on your head and it's from cheating on your wife.
Exactly.
Absolutely dialed in perfect Russian energy.
And the best part, because they couldn't make up it away, it was rewritten to where he saved a little girl from a car crash by diving in front of the car to like push her out of the way, and that's how he got the scar.
Yeah.
And this isn't there's like a 7-year gap between his flight and his death. This happens in like pretty much the same year that he flies. Like he is like this as soon as he lands. So basically all of these different propaganda and like legend versions of Gagarin exist all at the same time, maintained for like different audiences. And all of this was helped by the fact that Gagarin was a great actor and he knew how to play every role he was asked. Like this is often depicted as like, oh, he was just this kid who was being taken advantage of, but he wasn't. He was not unaware. He was an active participant in the propaganda play, and he knew how to manipulate it for his own like gains. As we'll see, that doesn't always mean he cooperated. Yuri Gagarin had his own political beliefs, and he quickly realized that the Soviet state had handed him power he could use independently.
His eyes just start glowing.
Because for all the claims that he was an icon for all Soviet citizens, Yuri Alexeyevich Gagarin was a Russian first, and he believed in Russians first. He wasn't some like Moscovite elitist. He was from a collective farm. He was a mujik. He was Nash. He was one of us. He was one of the boys. And this quickly became his appeal for like millions of people in the Soviet Union, or more specifically Russia.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting a little ahead of myself, and we need to follow the story as it happened. Sputnik 1, launched in 1957, had actually been a bit of a sleeper hit in the Soviet Union. The day after it launched, it was relegated to a single paragraph buried in Pravda. It took the reaction of the rest of the world, this entire like Sputnik panic, to show the Kremlin that like, oh shit, space propaganda is valuable. So in 1961, with the launch of Gagarin, they were ready. Within hours of Yuri's landing in a farmer's field in Kazakhstan, his face was everywhere. There were huge banners rolled out in Moscow, and more than 15 million new TVs were showing off the handsome young man with the famous smile. Amplified by the radio and TV in ways that Sputnik never could be, the news of Yuri's flight was like, it was this shot in the arm for the Soviet ego. Up to this point, like they're 4 years after Sputnik now, people were used to hearing Soviet space wins, but it's always like, oh, we launched another satellite, or, you know, we launched something to the moon.
People are like, yeah, sure, they have the world's most advanced dog cooking technology. But you know what? What if we don't want to eat dogs?
Why are the scientists hoarding all the cooked dogs? It was always depicted.
I hate it when you're like reading a recipe for slow cooked dog, and then it's telling you a whole story about the Soviet space campaign first. And you're like, oh, just get to the point.
Oh my god, yeah. Back when my grandpa worked at Baikonur, Kazakhstan, I always loved this dish. Nothing better.
It was kind of like a leftovers thing. It was sort of like a, don't waste anything.
It was either that or the scorpions, and the scorpions got more fight in them.
Yeah, the key is using the vodka to deglaze the inside of the capsule.
and like these stories are always depicted, like they're always attributed to these elite scientists and engineers, people that like normal Russians can't relate to. So when Yuri Gagarin comes along, everyone is suddenly like, everyone clicks because this is a human face. This is like one of them. This is one of the boys. Not some kind of like elite Moscow like scientist or something.
Ignore the fact he had a stopover in Turkey, got his hair done, he has some veneers.
Yeah. Oh, like he like the capsule lands in Turkey and then he just makes his way back with much better hair.
Yeah.
And perfect teeth. Yeah. Yeah, previously the only avatars
finding a lost cosmonaut, like their corpse just in Turkey, and they just have Fabio hair.
Previously, the only avatars for space exploration were either your snooty Moscow scientist or a dog that was just perfectly falling off the bone.
I wonder if they would look at Laika, because like all of the space dogs were stolen off the streets of Moscow, and there's like the fucking elitist Moscow dog.
Yeah. Well, now you're getting into a very British way of looking at the world. All these dogs they're cooking in space, it's all London centric. Why can't they cook a dog from Barnsley?
Just
no northern representation.
Yeah, sending a whippet into space
from our little mining town. It's just this like emaciated whippet with 2 legs.
Yeah.
Oh, the whippet's not even making it off the pad. It is gone.
I love the idea that we're simultaneously on one hand balancing the look at him, he's a human being, he's one of us, against replacing every single part of him conceivably with a replacement that makes him look better.
Yeah, basically.
Let's replace his teeth and his hair, and let's give him some facial
his forehead's
reconstruction.
kind of fucked.
Let's give him some lipo and make sure that all of his human lines show, like
not being able to fit into the like getting so much plastic surgery, his head doesn't fit in the helmet anymore.
It's like
they shouldn't have given him the lips. I do think that was too far.
This is truly the human act of gold plating the AK. Like it's turning a tool of the proles into a bourgeois status symbol. He's one of us.
Especially because Gagarin later on himself, not even as part of like the Soviet state, he just makes chocolates with his own face on them and sells them. That's like one of his like many like get rich quick schemes.
Does he just turn into fucking Ed and Eddie near the end of his life?
He kind of, except it was like he was so desperate to go to space, he was trying anything again. So I don't want to go all the way into this, but I do think it's worthwhile to look at a couple of letters to the editor written by normal Russians about Yuri Gagarin. So some of them took a more saber-rattling tone, saying,
"Hey, Uncle Sam, listen to the rocket thunder over the entire world and over the territory of California and your various Floridas." Yeah, various Floridas.
Yeah, like all of your fucking your disgusting bourgeois amount of Floridas.
I love how we can have 2 Dakotas and 2 Carolinas, and suddenly everyone is confused as to how many of each other's state there is.
Yeah, I actually think that it makes sense that he would raise the issue of Florida because that is the most Russian part of America. there is a spiritually, yeah.
You think a Florida man can go to space?
Whenever I read that, I was thinking of like, how would you split Florida like Korea? You know, like what parallel would I have to split it along to make North and South Florida? It is a
peninsula. It makes quite good sense. Yeah, yeah.
I love defining it as spiritually the most Russian place, taking Russians out of like the ice pit that they live in and putting them in tropical sunshine.
Counterpoint, snowbirds.
Yeah.
You know, like fat Quebecois people in fleur-de-lis spandex mobbing Florida every single summer or every single winter.
I'm just saying, like, they know what's up. They know that they hate it being cold all the time, so they go to one of the hottest places on Earth because they're near the equator.
Well, they love the sauna, which is what Florida is, so it makes perfect sense. No, I think that, you know, Russia and Florida have a similar energy of just like guys who have like drunk too much on a Tuesday doing something that is deeply unwise that ends them up in the local paper. Like that is the handshake meme between Russia and Florida.
2 peoples alike in dignity.
Exactly.
So that's the more kind of like look at this tech, look at how far ahead we are of the Americans. But others marveled at what Gagarin's flight meant for normal people, that Yuri was
a simple Russian guy. Let all Russian Yuris, Ivans, Mikhails, Nikolais, Andres, and the rest of the good names live eternally and grow in strength, glorifying the banner of our proletarian background.
All the good Russian names.
Yeah.
Those are the only good Russian names, though,
Notice how Yevgeny's not on that list.
Dang.
Yeah.
We're missing out on Marlene.
We need to bring justice for Yevgeny.
Yeah, where's Vadim, you know?
What about that Russian general that got vaporized?
I think he's just kind of throwing them into the rest of the good names.
Which one, Chris? There's so many of them. Russian general that got vaporized can just be an archetype.
No, let me continue. The one that got vaporized on the launch pad because he was too busy being a dipshit in a lawn chair trying to get a rocket to launch. Nedelin, thank you. What's his name? Mitrofan?
Mitrofan Nedelin, yeah.
Yeah, Mitrofan is a hell of a name. They do have some fucking weird names.
Is Mitrofan, like, is that, sorry, I said it kind of French there, but is that like a fancier name or like, how, I don't know, like what would be an English equivalent?
Honestly, I have never met a guy called Mitrofan. I'm trying to, so it was a peasant name. But in the 20th century, it fell out of use, and now it is generally found in monasteries.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Mitrofan Nedelin, committed Luddite, sabotaged the rocket to save humanity from technological progress.
Oh, this is interesting. The name became like a byword for the to refer to like an undeveloped, lazy, like sort of like teenager or adolescent, thanks to the character Mitrofanushka in the comedy Von Vizina. Okay, there's obviously a guy called Von Vizin. Yeah, like Nedorosel, like ungrown up.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, that was me attempting to summarize a Russian text written by AI in English. So.
Oh.
So is this a case of a baby name originating from a work of fiction? Is this?
I guess I mean the comedy's probably after he's dead.
Yeah. So yeah, that comedy is like they've used the name which already exists and it's taken on because that's such a famous character. It comes from the ancient Greek root of mother and like light. Or
appear. Hell yeah.
I was trying to determine how much of a naming your child Dovahkiin ass situation we had here.
Well, speaking of getting a little weird with it, So we have all of these people who are like they're taking this like nationalistic approach to Yuri's launch, and this isn't something that the Soviet propaganda is necessarily even pushing. And more than a few people got weird with it. Quoting Andrew Jenks, others attributed mystical significance to the length of Gagarin's flight, 108 minutes. They noted that Buddhists ring a bell 108 times for New Year's, that temples in Nepal have 108 niches for 108 separate gods. The base of one of the Egyptian pyramids, some discovered, was 108 meters. The speed of light in a vacuum is 108 times 10 to the 10th meters per hour. The speed of the Earth around the sun was 108 times 10 to the 3rd kilometers per hour. So people are just like doing gematria, like they're doing numerology on Gagarin just flying around the Earth.
Oh, beautiful.
And this crucially kind of sets the bedrock for the cult of Gagarin that quickly pops up. What's most interesting about this is that normal Russians were almost universally picking up on something that Soviet propaganda wasn't trying to emphasize. Like propaganda at the time, the official line is that Yuri Gagarin is like the Soviet everyman. He represents all of us. But everyday Russians are looking at him and going like, nah, he's one of us.
Arguing over whose boy he is?
Yeah. Like there's multiple attempts basically to fight over Yuri Gagarin and his legacy. And Yuri is like, to be clear, he is an active participant in this. He is not just kind of like in the middle of a tug of war. He has his own ideas and he is going to use his fame to get what he wants.
Oh, just start stoking the fire on either end.
And what he wants is to appeal simultaneously to two groups that do not get along. He wants to appeal to like the average everyday Russian worker, but he also really wants to be a fucking elitist. He wants to be an apparatchik. He wants to have like all of the access, all of the fame.
Podcaster's dilemma.
Yeah, exactly. Do I keep myself relatable to my audience, or do I reach new withering heights?
Well, I was having this conversation at a gig last night with another comedian that, like, at the point where you become a professional comedian, your life becomes deeply unrelatable. Like, all of your observations are like about like what motorway service stations are like at 3:00 in the morning. And it's like, that just isn't how most people live their lives.
Yeah,
you need shit about The Office.
But the risk is that, yeah, like, and eventually you get too successful and it becomes like all complaining about the food not being as good on private jets as it used to be. And
yeah. I think that's why you have to go reactionary. Like, you know, why all your material has to become about like, what's the deal with trans people? Because you're like just desperately Googling like, what are people talking about? Like, but you're in your like gold house being like, what is stuff talk about?
Then I am deeply thankful that you have figured out the comedian's infinite money glitch and have, out of principle, refused to use it.
Yeah, there we go. The thing is, I'm not successful enough to become reactionary yet. I've got to be like 4 Netflix specials in, and then I might consider, you know, developing some fruity opinions. I don't know, depending on what the relevant.
Yeah, like you have to ride it out until someone says like, wait a second, this guy's not funny. And then you take that slight criticism and you go like, boom, reactionary now. They tried to cancel me.
All I can say is thank you to the industry for keeping my heart pure by ensuring that I maintain a sort of only moderate level of success.
They're trying to constrain you before you go crazy.
Yeah.
Mayor of Star City.
Oh, it's our favorite place.
Also, I can't believe we haven't talked about the insertion at any point yet.
We're getting that. We just arrived at Star City. Come on.
So, after his flight, Yuri returned to Star City, the main cosmonaut training facility just outside of Moscow. In between his official visits and being flown around to give speeches, Gagarin mostly went back to training. He was a cosmonaut, after all, the first among the cosmonaut corps, and he fully expected to keep flying into space. The next Vostok flights were all assigned, but there were new programs on the way. There was the Voskhod spacecraft being tested, and Sergei Korolev was well into designing the Soyuz spacecraft that would hopefully carry cosmonauts to the moon. Unfortunately, this was not to be. Gagarin had become important at work. Too important to risk dying on another mission to space.
He's being hemmed up by HR. You hate to see it.
Yeah.
Star City has gone woke. They say I can't go to space because I haven't done sexual harassment training.
Who
can sexually harass in space? Training. No one up there. No women allowed.
Sexual harassment training is you climb the stairs to the second story, you fling yourself out, and you land on a soft pad. And it's how well you can do that without killing yourself.
Exactly.
No, you see, you ask how can you harass in space? Well, Vasily Mission is going to get the weirdest transmission from that craft yet.
I am going to help these two women pass the Bechdel test by throwing myself out of window.
And, like, just a couple of weeks before his flight, officials remembered that Valentin Bondarenko, another cosmonaut, had died in a training accident. And unlike Bondarenko, Yuri was already famous. Like, we've talked about this before, this back and forth of, like, how well the Soviets can cover up cosmonaut deaths. And it goes away once you have already made a guy famous. Bondarenko, no one had heard of him. He was easy to cover up. If Yuri dies in space, that's gonna, like, there is no way to sugarcoat that.
But Bondarenko really sounds like it would be like terrible Soviet parody of James Bond. Like, Компания Mosfilm представляет James Bondarenko 007.
What's unfortunate, and I don't mean to make a joke out of this, is that Valentin Bondarenko kind of dies in a way that, like, a James Bond villain would, or that the villain wants Bond to. Like, he's in this pure oxygen.
Laser up the nutcrack.
He burns to death in a test chamber fire.
We
like,
talked about Shashlik earlier.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's bad.
Flame grilled.
Bondarenko and Komarov both die of burning, effectively.
Also, oxygen fires, surprisingly common.
So basically, with that, that memory very fresh in everyone's mind, they just made the decision to not let Gagarin anywhere near an actual mission ever again.
Yeah, we can't fry this guy. As delicious as he would be, he's too important alive. Well, I think this is the interesting thing, right? The Russians are being hamstrung by their greatest asset, right? Which is like so much of like the Soviet Union's success in various like scientific and exploratory and indeed military endeavors is that they do not care how many people they have to kill. But as soon as you get one guy you can't kill, the whole thing falls down. It's like, well, wait, we were never doing health and safety before. We just, if the guy died, there was like another guy. What the fuck? Now this guy can't die? That is like the point of guys, is you can kill them.
It's just like bullet point 1 on the HR board. Yuri Gagarin cannot die.
Yeah.
He has achieved a perfect state of inflammability.
He has achieved Soviet immortality.
Yeah, everyone else is so expendable.
It's because he can't be killed. Everyone else around him
they're just carving they're like plastic surgerying up a legion of like body doubles for him. Like, Gagarin actually died when he dove out that window, and then everyone after, all the doubles had to get, like, their foreheads carved up.
Yeah, well, they all had to dive out the window, too.
You have to be able to match Gagarin's vibe.
But the problem is they all kept dying.
It's like circuits. There's like a guy with a stopwatch, like making the new recruit, like, cheat on his wife and then dive out of the window, and then he's like, too slow, again.
So, when he wasn't traveling the world on various tours for the benefit of Soviet science and diplomacy, Gagarin returned to Star City Training Center outside Moscow. Originally nicknamed Kilometer 41 for how far it was from the Kremlin, Star City started off as basically one of dozens of, like, closed cities in the USSR. There's a bunch of them that are still around now. These are basically cities where, like, to get in or out, you need a full-on entry visa. And they're dedicated to military stuff. They're dedicated to science. It's where you work if you want something kept secret.
Yeah, and some of these still exist as well. Like, there are, like, numbered cities where they do, like, nuclear weapons or whatever. And, like, if you grow up there, like, you're only allowed to visit your family if you have, like, a special pass. It's, like, fucking crazy.
The wonders of a closed city.
And while the cosmonauts and the whole site had been a state secret, after Gagarin's flight, they kind of had to open it up because people started wondering, like, hey, where the fuck is Yuri Gagarin? His fame transferred to the rest of the space program, and the perks started to roll in. Star City quickly became literally one of the most luxurious places in the communist bloc.
Sort of tallest dwarf type stuff, that, isn't it?
Kind of,
Here we get the best soup.
You wouldn't believe.
So, the chef to the cosmonauts trained in the culinary arts at the Hotel Metropole, the Soviet Union's most prestigious restaurant. The cooking staff kept its own gardens for fresh produce, as well as cows, chickens, and pigs. Plates with vegetables and salads were always available in the dining hall, remembered the cook to the cosmonauts. Cosmonauts could come into the hall at any time for a snack. The most startling thing, remembered one new Star City denizen in the 1960s, was fresh tomato on my plate in the middle of April. So for people who are living in, like, communal apartments before this, or, like, on a communal farm, this is an impossible level of luxury. And it's only going to get more stupid because Gagarin is not in charge of the facility yet.
Yeah, sometimes, having gone to space, it doesn't mean you should be in charge of admin.
No. This is the problem we see with so many like astronaut politicians.
It makes you weird.
Being a test pilot does not make you good at other things. It's not a super transferable skill, it turns out.
Yeah, being a test pilot is transferable for like being on the Joe Rogan Experience, not for like being in charge of a government department.
Oh God, if Yuri Gagarin were still alive, he would do so well on Joe Rogan. if he doesn't already have his own podcast.
You know they have huge apes in space, and no one wants to talk about this. Oh yeah, that's crazy.
So in 1963, Gagarin was made deputy head of cosmonaut training at Star City. Technically, he worked for the head of training, Nikolai Kamanin, but what the job really amounted to was being leader of the cosmonauts and running Star City like his own little kingdom. It's not for nothing that he gained the nickname the Mayor of Star City. And, I need to be clear about this. His idea of Star City is basically like if you ask a 6-year-old to draw their, like, dream house, he just starts putting everything in. Like, they've got, like, they have so many more gymnasiums. He starts putting like all of these luxuries in. Almost as soon as he takes the job, he decides to bring in a bunch of architects to build huge new apartment buildings for the cosmonauts, their families, and Star City staff. I also need to note that this is the level of importance for them as well, because we quickly see something about Yuri's personality, that he is utterly obsessed with hierarchy and status symbols.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Though he never said, like, he's a uniform guy. He, like, in a lot of pictures, you'll see him with this, like, very nice, stark white uniform. That's one that he designed for himself and insisted they make for him.
Oh, this is cool.
And
The ultimate one of one piece.
Yeah. He is in his Michael Jackson era. He's designing his own. The outfits are getting weirder. He's getting cosmetic surgery. He's gonna get a pet monkey.
Though he never says it, he thinks the cosmonauts are owed more rewards for what they've achieved, and the new builds, like the buildings going up at Star City, reflect that. If you just work there, if you're like training staff, if you're a technician or a scientist, you get to live in a shitty Khrushchevka, just like a five-story communal apartment. If you are a cosmonaut, you get to live in the huge, luxurious 11-story buildings. And even within the cosmonaut corps, Yuri still have found ways to kind of like split up and rank people. Quote, heroes of the Soviet Union got a 4-bedroom apartment to themselves, as did those who merely flew but had at least 2 children. Those waiting to launch into space, married or single, had to bide their time in a 3-bedroom unit. But even the 3-bedroom apartments by Soviet standards were palatial, with a separate kitchen, toilet, and an entryway. There are actually a couple of fun quotes. Some cosmonauts, like the ones who were waiting to fly and are just single, are just sitting in the middle of this huge, empty 3-bedroom apartment, just kind of like, fuck, this is way too big. This feels like empty.
Ideal male living space. Like, I have one launcher, 55-inch TV, and I have a nuclear-powered Xbox.
And I think
the nuclear power Xbox would rip.
And that's partially because Gagarin has personally designed, like he's talking to the architects, he's personally designing everyone's apartments so that every single one of them can be used for a different kind of partying. The 4-bedroom apartments have a 30 square meter kind of common area that everything can be cleared out of so they can play soccer.
He's like Silvio Berlusconi. This is incredible.
If you're like a cosmonaut's wife or something, you will, like, occasionally your apartment will be broken into at like 2 a.m. and you will have to try and sleep through like 30 dudes playing soccer drunkenly in your living room.
What I don't understand about this is why not just build a fucking indoor football pitch in the Cosmonaut?
Oh, they had that
center. Yeah, I get it. Like it feels
it's
like
cold
having
to go outside.
Yeah, surely you could get a sports hall. I don't know.
Yuri Gagarin designs entire parts of this city to be like as convenient as possible so that he and his buddies don't have to go outside in winter.
I mean, fair. It is fucking cold.
Yeah. His role and fame also made Gagarin the de facto leader of the cosmonauts. He organized outings and hunting trips. When other cosmonauts wanted something done, they went to him. As part of his plan to weld all of the cosmonauts into a family, or the book calls it a compagnia, Gagarin also created an elaborate set of hazing rituals for any new trainees. The most famous of these was the Day of Neptune. If you've ever seen a picture of Yuri Gagarin dressed up like Neptune with like a trident and a huge beard, this is why.
Sorry, what a sentence that is, by the way. If you've ever seen Yuri Gagarin dressed up as Neptune, what?
Yeah, I would encourage anyone listening, unless you're driving, like, look this up. There are famous pictures of Yuri Gagarin like dressed up as Neptune, and weirdly, this isn't part of the ritual. Alexei Leonov is just next to him and is dressed up as Aladdin.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, he was just dressed like that. No need to be worried.
Yeah, no, that was that wasn't even part of it. Alexei just really liked dressing up like that. We all stopped asking why.
Yeah, wow. Oh, wow, the hair on the chest of Alexei Leonov. Fucking hell. It's like you could make a fucking like Azeri carpet out of that. Jesus. That's gotta add weight for going into space.
It's his own homegrown spacesuit. He's ready to go.
He's growing
Fully
a
pressure tight.
Kevlar vest on his own chest.
Yeah, that's it. Well, he can't be burned to death because he's got an insulating layer.
Yeah. It's a blade of chest hair. It's meant to burn off.
It's ablated.
So yeah, this is all in service of like a bunch of hazing rituals that Gagarin designs.
Right.
Quote, his sidekick, a balding middle-aged man with a paunch, was sprawled out beside him, dressed as a mermaid. The sight of the two was enough to send the assemblage into the water out of sheer laughter. So like they gather all the trainees together at the Star City pool. And this includes just like, this isn't just cosmonauts. If you sign up to work at Star City as like a chef, Yuri Gagarin will drag you out to this hazing ritual.
Yeah.
The new cosmonauts in training, one by one, were led to Neptune for interrogation. If Gagarin considered an answer insufficient, he waved his trident and the hapless new cosmonaut in training was unceremoniously tossed into the water. So one of the examples given for this is Gagarin asks a dude like, hey, like, what's your favorite part of Star City? And the guy says, oh, I like the swing sets. The zero-G swing set kind of stuff. And Gagarin like starts yelling at him because like, no, you like the fucking accountant who pays you all of your money, and basically tries to drown the kid.
Into the fucking
not
pool you
not
go.
always the funniest part, and we do see, in like describing this, we do see some more, like Gagarin, not always super nice when it comes to his little hazing rituals.
Yuri Gagarin's like, respect the fucking accountants. That's rule one. A lot of people think rule one is something about space. No, we don't get anywhere without the bookkeepers, okay? Without those, he's a real like, you know, like tip your servers guy. He's like, listen, the real heroes are the people doing the double entry. All right, we're doing the re-entry,
rule number one,
but without double entry, it's nothing.
Rule one: secure the fucking bag.
And that, like Milo, that is actually a very good point, because like Gagarin is very good at this, because on the one hand, like he always talks whenever he gives these speeches. He makes sure to credit all the workers. He's saying like this was a team effort, everyone did their part, kind of stuff. But then he also deliberately organizes Star City so that anyone who isn't a cosmonaut is like a second-class citizen. They've got like separate lines at the cafeteria and shit.
Awesome.
So like he gets to pay lip service to this, but no, like he fully believes that the cosmonauts are like inherently superior to everyone around them. This also came through in discipline, because Nikolai Kamanin, the head of training, was very good at his job. He has a very long and established legacy, but he would also, like, whenever a cosmonaut fucks up, he pulls everyone in. He does collective punishment. He starts screaming about how they're like ruining the fabric of Soviet morals, and no one likes that. Gagarin, meanwhile, he gets to be the good cop. He shows up. If you fucked up, if you show up drunk to training, which happens a lot.
Yeah, it's Russia.
Yeah. Gagarin throws you in the shower and then has like a heart-to-heart with you, and he normally ends it by giving you a little, like, a prize or something to encourage you to do better.
Which is probably more alcohol.
Probably, yeah.
Here, no, let's do a shot.
This guy showed up to training not drunk enough.
0.07.
Where do you think you are, France?
So, as a final example of Gagarin's power and influence over the Soviet Cosmonaut Corps, in 1963, he got a new boss. Head of Star City, Mikhail Odintsov. And the cosmonauts hate this guy. He was a Kamanin-type official who, like, he berates the cosmonauts for acting like childish frat bros all the time. And Yuri, like, they try and get rid of him. The cosmonauts get together, led by Yuri Gagarin, and they come up with a plan to get rid of him. And the first
like
attempt
Animal
doesn't
House?
really work.
It's like slobs v snobs, cosmonauts.
Yeah. And they come up, their first attempt is to just come up with a nickname for him. They call him Mikhail Ogurtsov, which just means the cucumber guy.
The fucking dean says we can't play soccer in this apartment because there's women and children sleeping in here. What a loser. We're going to TP his house. Like, love that.
And again, this is all like the dude doing this is a hero of the Soviet Union. He is the most famous person in the communist bloc. He's just like having weird little office politics with a middle manager he doesn't like.
It is also kind of weird that they slagged him off by calling him like Mr. Cucumber, because Russians fucking love cucumbers. Like, no one on earth has greater respect for the cucumber than the Russian.
Yeah. Oh, it was a compliment, maybe.
Yeah. They were actually saying he had a huge dick.
They're saying that he is he's an upstanding individual. He's uncompromising. He's tough. He does not bend, just like the cucumber.
Exactly. And he's 95% water.
So that didn't work, but Yuri changed tack, and I think this really shows how Yuri is evolving into being like a party apparatchik. He knows how to organize stuff. This is the kind of thing that you hear about in like Stalin's inner circle. He invited Odintsov to a local Communist Party meeting, but he had actually set it up as an ambush. Once Odintsov gets there, the entire topic of the meeting is revealed to be everyone shitting on Odintsov and talking about how much he sucks to his face. And getting it all on record and then publishing it in the Star City newspaper.
Wow. Bitchy.
So he just drags this guy into like a public insult fest and then makes sure that everyone in town knows about it, and then Odintsov is quickly fired.
It's a power move, I'll say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, once the two large Cosmonaut high-rise apartments were done, Gagarin ordered the construction of a hall that would link them together, that the Cosmonauts simply called the Insertion. It was the default place for the Cosmonauts to party. Yeah, and they do talk about it having the double entendre.
Okay.
And that did happen a fair bit in the Insertion. Possibly still does. It's still around. It was the default place for the Cosmonauts to party, since it let them go from building to building without going out in the cold. What started off as Cosmonaut-only affairs slowly grew as more and more people were invited. And because of how famous the Cosmonauts were and how difficult it was to get an invite to Star City, like this is like a closed city, it's a military base. If you're going, you have to have like an invite. You have to have references. You're going back and forth and doing all the security stuff. You have to get a visa.
To be the papers, please checker at the
Star
Insertion.
City.
Yeah. It's like Russian Berghain, but it's like the army are on the door. Like you're like fucking, everyone's like queuing up to get in. Like, you know, no, definitely no speaking English in the queue. That won't go down well.
The doorman at Russian Berghain is the vile concept.
Well, hold that thought, because there like weird shit is happening in the Insertion. Because at first these are just like Cosmonaut parties, and occasionally they'll invite in a general. But Yuri Gagarin, he realizes that he now has the like this is like red carpet stuff. This is the place to be if you are a Moscow, like if you're a musician, if you're a fashion model, if you're a designer, if you're anyone important in Moscow. The Insertion is where you go to party. It's where like the fanciest parties are. It's where all of the paparazzi are. You want to go to Star City because it quickly becomes the most exclusive party place in the entire communist bloc.
Paris Hilton is there. Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, no, literally. Like, not literally, but like that kind of people from Moscow, all of like, everyone that Gagarin claims to hate, these like effete Moscow elitists, they all come out to party with him and he invites them.
That was terrible. That picture of when they upskirted Yuri Gagarin as he was getting out of his zeal at Star City. it was kind of a dark era in sort of, media.
A stain upon the perfect record.
So he was particular, and like at all of these parties, Yuri Gagarin is the host. He's going around, he's schmoozing people, and he was particularly famous for his toasts at the end of a long night, knowing exactly who to compliment, who to insult, and who not to invite back. Because he's also keeping abreast of like who's in with the party, who's a rising star, who's on the way out, and he uses these parties to like connect himself to the right people. Because there's too much to go over everything, I want to give you one example of how adept Gagarin was with this. As Gagarin was preparing for the 1964 Cosmonautics Day Gala in the Insertion, he called up poet Yevgeny Yevtushenko. Now, Yevtushenko was in hot water with the party over parts of his autobiography that he had written a year earlier. It's kind of funny. In his autobiography, he writes about how cool it is that he doesn't know how electricity works. Because he doesn't need to, because the Soviet Union has all these wonderful electricians that people can specialize, that he can focus on being a poet, and the electricians, they can know how electricity works. And for whatever reason, like, this doesn't go down well with the Kremlin. In fact, Gagarin himself, like, he becomes a kind of media critic after he flies into space, and he goes up in front of this Komsomol, this like youth summit, and he spends an entire speech trashing Yevtushenko and calling him a piece of shit.
What was his blood alcohol content at the time? Inquiring minds want to know.
Probably fair, probably a decent. I feel like, like Yuri Gagarin is always described as being like the most sober person, probably just because of his tolerance. Like, after people get blackout drunk, Yuri Gagarin wakes them up in the morning to like insist they go water skiing with him.
That is, you gotta hate that guy. Oh,
yeah. And Yuri Gagarin, also founder of the Soviet Water Skiing Federation. It was his favorite sport, and he insisted his entire life that he was like, no, this is the least bourgeois sport ever.
And what's his reasoning there?
He liked it. He liked it.
By the simple act of liking it, it is the perfect sport.
Soviet water skiing feels like a euphemism.
Yeah, it's a torture method, and you are underneath the skis. You are being dragged behind a boat underwater underneath the skis.
Yuri Gagarin is writing you.
So needless to say, with all of this, Yevtushenko was surprised to be invited to read some of his poems at Star City, because the guy who was inviting him had previously like slagged him in the media.
Here's something that's great about Russia is it's like, it's the fucking like the jocks having their like elitism party at the Cosmonaut Center, and it's like, yeah, tonight is going to be lit. I've got a guy coming to read poetry. Yeah, fucking be there or you're gay. Like, it's like so it's so Russian to be like, it's our awesome dude bro party. Now we're gonna have a guy. Well, you're gonna listen while the guy reads poetry.
Fucking headbanging in the back while the guy's just talking about power plants.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, this is also like this kind of Soviet poetry where every single poem is about like a new hydroelectric plant or something and how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
And this is one of the ways that like Gagarin wins both sides. So in his speech, he gets to look good for the Kremlin because he's criticizing this guy that they don't like. But he also gets to make a connection to Yevtushenko by inviting him to the party. So in the end, Yevgeny did attend, but he didn't get to stay because Gagarin had also invited a Central Committee official who kicked him out, who like started shouting at Gagarin and demanding to know why this guy was here. Yevtushenko got pissed. He drove off. And Gagarin just sent a gaggle of cosmonauts to just like, hey, just go drink with that guy. Let him know that there's no hard feelings. Give him some money. He just like sends his cronies off to kind of like ease things over with Yevtushenko.
The Yuri Gagarin emergency PR squad.
Yeah, like you are a fucking cosmonaut. You are training to be like a space traveler to advance human science in ways that have not been seen ever. And you are also a crony to a dude who, like, you need to make sure, it is your job to make sure that your boss's party goes perfect. And if it doesn't go perfect, you are going to be in so much fucking trouble. And this does kind of work because, like, after this party, Yevtushenko, he corrects his autobiography. He comes back, he writes a couple of poems about how he wishes he knew more about electricity. And stuff like that gets him back in the
classic subject for a poem. I wish I knew more about electricity. God, sounds like a banger.
He's like atoning because before in his autobiography he's just like, I don't know about electricity, and that's fucking great. We don't need to.
Are we gonna have How Do Magnets Work next?
It's like a poem form of that. So yeah, this is just another one of these examples where like Gagarin quickly shows himself to be a very adept political maneuverer. Like he's able to rehabilitate Yevtushenko while also making himself look better to the Kremlin. Now, all of this luxury for the cosmonauts did not go unnoticed. It was especially hard to avoid when Moscow locals noticed the cosmonauts skipping lines into crowded stores or when they'd get first pick at new luxuries and just like clear the place out. Especially at Star City, they would every now and then they would turn the gym into kind of like a farmer's market or just like where, it's all kinds of stuff from the West, all kinds of illicit goods would be brought in and Star City locals would be able to buy them at like rock bottom prices. This is like getting all kinds of stuff that normal Soviet citizens could not dream of. But the problem is that the cosmonauts got first pick, so every single time the actual, like, the workers would go to this, like, flea market in the gym, it would just be completely empty because the cosmonauts are walking out with, like, the equivalent would be, like, you know, getting, like, Air Jordans in North Korea. And this did not make them popular. A mini riot ensued as other customers, waiting in one of the customarily long and interminable lines, yelled out, "How do they not get to stand in line? Why do they deserve this?" Another yelled out, "They spin 1 or 2 times in orbit and they get everything served to them on a silver platter."
Literally, he's like, yeah, that's what I asked for.
Yeah.
I want all my meals on a silver platter because I went to space. Correct. Thank you. You're following me.
We joke, but that's pretty much the logic that Yuri's brain is going through at this time.
Okay, quick. The default reactionary response to perceived injustice is, well, if you don't like it, you can just go live somewhere else.
Why don't you go to your own space?
Why don't you go to your own space city?
Exactly.
Another fun thing is that once female cosmonauts trainees start being a thing, like Valentina Tereshkova and a bunch of others in that initial kind of crop of trainees, Gagarin flips shit. He does not want them anywhere near. He does not consider them cosmonauts. He doesn't want them anywhere near his cosmonaut parties. And he invents a bunch of rules to basically lock them out of the rest of, like, at least the social part of the cosmonaut corps. He can't actually kick them out of training. But he starts insisting that, like, all cosmonauts have to wear their military uniforms to lunches and dinner. And the female cosmonaut trainees are not in the military. They don't have uniforms, so guess who can't have dinner?
I've banned women from dinner. Dinner is for the fellas.
He also, like, insists on taking them shopping with him. Like, he wants to show, like, they're already cosmonauts. Like, they have access to a lot of luxury, but he insists on being their chauffeur. He insists on, like, taking them to all these department stores in Moscow and showing them around.
What do you need? What do you need? Bra, maybe pants? I don't know.
I know exactly.
Yeah, I
Don't worry, I have a guy.
I've great eye for this. You know, you have a lot of, it would really suit your figure to dress in sort of looser fit, maybe straight lines. He just wanted to be a stylist. Like, that was his dream.
I don't doubt it because, again, like, he's also a uniform guy. Like, he has all of these like very nice custom uniforms made for him at his own direction. He's got his entire wardrobe ready. He is an expert. I'm willing to give him that.
Alternate reality where the Twitter menswear guy became like an astronaut.
Cosmonaut.
Yeah.
Yuri is the proto just male menswear guide.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the sort of thing the menswear guy would do, to be fair. Like, someone would accuse him of being, like, too, like, woke and soy to go to space, and then he would somehow engineer a situation where he, like, goes to space.
Bribing the head of NASA and just accidentally getting launched.
Tripping and falling into the pod and getting shot into space.
So basically, at this time, like, people are starting to realize that the cosmonauts have so much luxury, even more than, like, if you're living in Moscow at the time, you're already pretty high up the pecking order, and the cosmonauts have so much shit more than any of them. And this being the 1960s Soviet Union, people couldn't really, like, criticize them publicly or in the newspaper, so they did the next best thing. This is, like, by 1962, jokes about the cosmonauts start coming out, and most of these jokes are about the cosmonauts dying horribly. Just as a way of kind of getting back.
Which is funny, because it's not really a joke. Lots of them did die horribly.
I do like the rest to go as well. There's one joke where the cosmonauts are getting ready for a mission, and it's revealed that their mission is that they are going to fly into the sun. And the cosmonauts complain to the scientists, like what do you know? We can't fly into the sun. We'll burn to death. And the scientists go like, no, we have thought of this. You will fly at night.
Ah, yes.
Perfect. The sun's sleeping. It's not ready.
There was, however, one attempt to formally, if a little indirectly, make fun of the cosmonauts. The movie 33, and this is one that we will be reviewing as a bonus at some point. This was a movie about a normal Russian guy, a factory worker who goes to the dentist and discovers that he has a 33rd tooth. Humans only have 32.
And many people in Russia have much less. Those goddamn Turks, they put an extra one in. What the fuck?
He's correcting the statistical average.
Yeah, the average Russian has 32.000001 teeth. So this makes him an overnight celebrity by no fault or achievement of his own, because he is considered the next step in human evolution. And the movie is about him being disillusioned. It's about this normal guy being thrown into this position of like luxury and fame and being completely disillusioned with it. It ends with it all having been a dream and him basically being so much happier to just have a normal life of not dealing with that shit.
With a perfectly normal number of teeth in his face.
Well, the movie actually ends with like, no, it was actually a single freak tooth that had 2 teeth, like 2 crowns coming off of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this passed the censors. This was approved for release. It did air. It did air in theaters because, you know, it's a story about a worker giving up fame in order to do more good work. Like, this is exactly what the Soviets wanted out of movies. But Gagarin did not like it because it was very clear, like the other cosmonauts, they quickly realized that this was very clearly meant to be making fun of them personally. There was even a scene where this character is getting driven around in a limousine with like a huge motorcade ahead of him that is a pretty much one-to-one parody of a famous, like a couple of cosmonauts being driven to Red Square for a ceremony. So they flip shit, they get the movie banned, and the ban is only cleared in the 1980s. So this is just another, like, whenever it comes to actual criticism of him, Gagarin and the cosmonauts, like, they don't take anything. They will get stuff banned if they need to.
Fantastic. What a fucking cursed concept. Getting pissed off at a 33rd tooth.
Hello, listener, and welcome to the mid-reel ad. If you enjoy Failure to Launch, more bad space history, and you want to hear more of it more often, there is an option, the FTL Patreon. Signing up at any tier gets you access to monthly bonus episodes and Q&As, and joining an elevated tier gets you even more content, like Chris-narrated minisodes. If that sounds good, you can sign up at www.patreon.com/failure to launch. And now, back to the episode.
Yuri versus the hipsters.
Now, becoming an apparatchik was not all Yuri Gagarin got up to after his flight. I want to focus on when he, the first human in space, went to war with Soviet hipsters. They were called Styliagi maybe?
Styliagi, yeah.
Styliagi, okay, sweet.
Yeah.
And that translates to style hunters, which they were basically a subset of Soviet kids in the 50s and 60s who like traded on the black market for foreign clothes or the latest Western music. They wanted to like ape and follow American fashion trends of the time. Ironically, a lot of Styliagi got their start through attending the International Youth Festival, which was a series of Soviet-backed sort of like youth congresses, is I guess the best way you can describe it.
You know what? I've played it.
You have?
Genuinely? Yeah, because it still exists. Because like, well, it's kind of carried on in the original spirit, which it was sort of a propaganda thing to be like, look, the Soviet Union is hosting this festival for the youth of all the world. And Russia still does this, but it's like now, like obviously, like basically no one wants to go because it sucks.
It's
so
like
you know,
Azerbaijan and like the CSTO countries send a couple of kids.
Yeah, exactly. It's like almost everyone there is Russian, and then there are like, you know, there's like 3 kids from like Vietnam or like, you know, Uganda or something, and then like that's kind of it's like a weird sort of like hodgepodge of like random places. But I was booked because they were doing there was an exhibition there of like Russian robotics and how like Russian robotics is the most advanced in the world, and they needed a bilingual host, English and Russian, as well as the main guys who were doing it. And so they booked me.
Oh, okay.
And it was like a lot of money, so I agreed to do it, but it was fucking insane. And but like all of the stuff that was like this super advanced Russian robotics was stuff that like, it was stuff you could buy as a Christmas toy in the West in like 2007. Like they had a thing that I swear to God was a Robo Sapien. Like it was unreal.
I was gonna say, you reminded me of that like one incident in Moscow of some chess robot just grabbing a kid's hand and just breaking it.
Yeah, pretty much. And actually, that would have been pretty advanced.
That Robo Sapien does have kill commands.
Yeah, violent Robo Sapien.
You can't beat me at chess. You can't beat me at chess if you don't have fingers.
Yeah, it's Russian Sapien. Sure, it will kill the child. But the main thing that like the pièce de résistance of this exhibit, I think we had to do the performance or whatever like 4 or 5 times, And the last thing they would bring out would be the self-driving car that they'd built. And it was the size of, like those little electric cars you can get for like toddlers.
Yeah.
It was like that big. And it would drive across the stage. And when I tell you, this thing ran me over every single fucking time while I'm stood at the podium talking about how amazing and advanced this electric car is, it would drive directly into me as I'm saying this. And then the kicker was, at the end of the week, I discovered that it wasn't a self-driving car. There was a guy at the tech desk, like, driving it with a remote control. So he was just bad at remote control cars.
Or he didn't
Just
like
watching
or he just wanted the kill count. You know?
Maybe. He just hated my
just
ankles.
watching this stupid little RC car trundle over T repeatedly.
Yeah.
Just no, goddamn it, not again.
It was quite something.
So like, when this happens, there is one of these, the International Youth Festival, and it happens in 1957 in Moscow. And this is actually where a lot of the Styliagi get their start, because this is their first exposure to like foreign fashion and ideas. I also do need to point out, so like while the International Youth Festival was Soviet-backed, there was an International Student Conference, a rival one, that was backed by the CIA.
Great.
So they just kind of have these rival East and West. I have to imagine they are just recruiting like the most double agents out of these kids.
Well, like the Russians who went to the CIA-funded one, they all came away like wearing polo shirts tucked into cargo trousers and like wraparound
like
Oakleys.
This thing exists to be like an Agent Cody Banks factory.
Agent Cody Bankarenko, the Russian version.
So, in 1962, Gagarin was approached by two men from Komsomol, the Soviet state youth organization. So these were Sergei Pavlov, its chief secretary, and Yuri Verchenko, its head of propaganda. What they pitched Gagarin was simple. There weren't any good role models for young Russians anymore. The best they could hope for were like war heroes who were at least a decade older than them and who they couldn't really relate to. So we've talked about this in previous episodes. This was an actual thing of like, after World War II, all of the Soviet propaganda, all of like the role models that it elevates are all people who fought in the war. And by 1962, that's 17 years ago at least. So like the kids aren't relating to like a 40-year-old who blew up a Nazi tank. They want someone a little bit closer to them. They want someone who didn't fight in the war and is still cool. And that's what Komsomol wants to manufacture. Mm-hmm. And the reason why Gagarin agrees to this is both because it will give him his own fame, but also because, to quote Pavlov, it would put him in a battle against perversion and moral depravity. So the West is coming to like pervert all of the Russian boys.
You hate to see that.
He doesn't get quite as far as like the making the frogs gay stuff, but like Pavlov is pretty...
Russian frog cannot be gay. It is Russian.
Simply not possible.
I mean, that is literally the Russian attitude. Like they're sort of like, they are the most homoerotic homophobes on the planet because they do believe that it's impossible that anything a Russian man does could be gay. So that leaves them open to a lot of like arse slapping in the sauna, you know? Because like, well, it's not gay, we're Russian.
Yeah, like by definition, they always have that escape hatch, and like it is deeply hilarious to me to like they pick Gagarin as like he's gonna be the role model. He's gonna be the person that all Russian kids can look up to as like their example to follow. And this is the guy who runs like the homoerotic space city. This is the guy who like has a legion of cosmonaut twinks who will just do whatever he tells them to. And most often, yeah, it's like weird hazing rituals, it's ass slapping stuff, or it's at one point they go hunting and Gagarin almost gets his feet blown off.
Yeah. Well, you know, like it's important to send twinks into space because they're lighter, so they're easier to send into space, which means that the Soviet cosmonaut recruiters had essentially the same priorities as Czech Hunter.
It is actually funny that that's kind of true because the main qualification for Soviet cosmonauts, at least at first, was height.
You want to make 200 rubles?
It's like basically it's just asking like, yo, are you shorter than like 160 centimeters? Hell yeah, get in the pod.
It's like, of course I am. I'm Russian. Yeah, like well, the handshake meme between the cosmonaut recruiters and Czech Hunter is either way you're getting roasted.
So another reason that Gagarin agreed to this, that he agreed to be this hero for Komsomol. Also, I find it deeply hilarious that the Soviets put a guy named Pavlov in charge of the organization for molding children.
Yeah, it has a ring to it. Like, I don't know why,
education.
but I just hear the name Pavlov and I immediately think this guy should be in charge of giving people some structure.
Yeah, I want to meet any Russians who were children around this period, like kids who were born in I'd say the late 50s, and just ring a bell near them and see if anything activates from deep down.
See what instincts come out immediately.
Yeah, see, like the Manchurian Candidate, except it just makes you more patriotic.
A version of the Manchurian Candidate where it just makes you really hungry. I heard my code phrase and I was like, must eat dinner.
Just like a presidential candidate just starts drooling on stage.
Yeah, great.
Stops moving, starts drooling, eyes frantically searching.
Yeah.
So another reason that Gagarin agreed to be this hero for the youth is that he already had a personal hatred of the Stilyagi. Going as far back as 1947, when he was at school in Saratov, Gagarin had worked with Komsomol to purge any hipsters from his school. He was doing street fighting shit against hipsters as a teenager.
Great.
He reported on hipsterish behavior. He intimidated people who displayed hipsterish behavior. He was in this from the beginning. He was in it for the love of the game.
What? Him just heading back to headquarters? Their fit's too good. Gotta get rid of them.
It's like taking scalps, except you're just bringing back a bloody, really fancy jacket.
Yeah. Just conveniently providing a list of all of the men who are engaged in anti-communist activity, and it's all of the men who the girls on your course fancy. You're like, yeah, no, he's got to go. That guy. You miss Gennady. Oh yeah, well, he's in the gulag now. So what are you doing tomorrow?
Yeah.
Look who took his Air Force Ones.
Looking out at the gulag, and everybody there is both A, starving, and B, has the most impeccable fit.
Yeah. Everyone in the gulag is just they're snatched, they're ripped as hell. They're just the most gorgeous boys. Women are clawing at the gulag fence, please let me in there. Yeah.
Let me in just 20 minutes.
Quinn, it's that one meme where it's got the guy and it's the two cops that are investigating, and it's he froze to death, but he looks great because he's wearing a jacket that looks nice but isn't good for cold weather or whatever it was.
So yeah, needless to say, for Gagarin, this is personal. He fucking hates hipsters with a passion.
Yeah, because his drip sucked.
So he agrees to this Komsomol idea, that they are going to push him as the main positive role model for Russian kids, something that they can push back on the hipsters with and say, hey, look, Yuri Gagarin is cool. He's ripped. He's hot. People there's a hairstyle, women and girls get a hairstyle at the time called Love Me Gagarin. And it's everyone needs to have it in 1963.
Love Me Gagarin, his range of boner pills.
Yeah, it's
Are you trying to cheat on your wife, but you find yourself a bit too nervous to get it up? Try Love Me Gagarin. Also comes with free helmet. Yeah. Beautiful. Love to see that. Everyone on the same wavelength.
So another thing, he agrees to be this role model. He also gets elected to the Komsomol Youth Congress. He's also in the Supreme Soviet at this point, the Soviet equivalent of the Duma. So he is an elected representative for his hometown of Gzhatsk. And another thing that Komsomol gives him is they give him bylines in the tabloid Komsomolskaya Pravda and the Russian nationalist paper Molodaya Gvardia. Both written to be much more exciting and kid-friendly than TASS articles. So he basically signs on for Soviet PragerU.
Another fucking cursed concept.
And this kind of ties back in with the Yevgeny Yevtushenko thing, because Yuri, what he does at these newspapers, whenever he writes an article every other day. He's a media critic. What he's doing is he's listening to poetry, he's listening to music, he's reading these novels, and then he goes in Komsomolskaya Pravda and talks about how shit they are.
Right.
These twinks can't write to save their lives.
Yeah, and because of how famous he is, he also acts as an unofficial censor. He doesn't actually have the ability to get anything pulled from publication, but if the most famous man in Russia wants it to happen, it tends to happen. And this was also not entirely one way. A lot of authors sent him their notes hoping for an endorsement. Like if Gagarin writes in his newspaper that he likes your book, every kid in Russia is going to buy your book. This can make careers.
It was like going on Rogan. Like you had to get the Yuri Gagarin endorsement. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, like Rogan, Gagarin is also falling for like every single little like rage bait post he can.
Yeah, there's some like North Korean woman going on Gagarin's podcast talking about how like, you know, you're not allowed to say anything in North Korea, and he's like, yeah, good.
You are really blowing my mind right now.
That is completely normal for me.
So once he got a taste of making fun of other people's writing, Gagarin graduated to writing his own. He wrote these articles that were mostly about how young Russians were being corrupted by foreign morals and how they should reconnect with their values. In one piece I found particularly hilarious coming from the first man in space, Gagarin wrote about the difference between big G and small g glory and the people who hunt them. He claimed that small g glory was for egotists and people who just wanted fame, while big G was about working to help all those who had helped you, the people who had raised you, the country that had raised you. He then listed all of the big G glory seekers worthy of admiration that he knew. Every single one of them was one of his cosmonaut buddies. In another op-ed, he wrote, "To be worthy of the time, to bring the greatest possible use to the motherland, to build homes and factories, raise hydroelectric power plants, to cultivate large crops, to preserve peace among people, to fly into space, you need strong muscles, a strong will, a strong character, and a high morality." And again, I always just like think this is coming from the dude who is having like sex parties in the insertion every other night.
What better place for a sex party than the insertion, to be fair?
Listen, if you're going to have a sex party in the insertion, you need strong muscles, a strong will, high morality.
A strong will.
Not everyone. Not everyone leaves the insertion intact.
Yeah, you can survive this experience, but not unchanged.
But like the parties at the insertion are like 50% supermodels and 50% like 80-year-old fucking like apparatchiks. Decent chance you wind up with someone you may not like. So in 1962, Yuri was elected to the Central Committee of Komsomol and complimented his opinion pieces with regular speeches and trips out to the provinces to talk to Russian kids. And I know I sound like a broken record with this, but it is really impressive to me how effectively Gagarin was able to change his skin for whichever audience. Komsomol recruited him as a way of fighting the Styliagi, fashion-conscious kids who wanted to rebel against the expectations of the Soviet state. Outside of Komsomol, Yuri was basically a Styliagi himself. He loved fashion, he had these custom uniforms, and he always made sure that not only did he have the fanciest uniform, but he downgraded parts of the normal cosmonaut uniform so they would be less fancy than him.
Great.
That's fucking petty.
That is impressive amounts of pettiness.
Yeah, like it's too dripped out. Make it more shit.
Alexei, take it off now.
Give him the skinny jeans.
Yeah. He insisted that Alexei Leonov go shirtless and dress up like Aladdin. That was his punishment. He was also like he was a playboy. He got a I think it was a Matra jet, like a very fancy sports car given to him whenever he visited France, and he loved driving the thing down dirt roads. He had a huge taste for alcohol and all of the illicit Western goods that his fame got him. He might have fucked Gina Lollobrigida, an Italian supermodel. Like, everything about how Yuri lived his life at Star City was the antithesis of what Komsomol wanted him to be. And he did change, and he changed successfully. He was able to, like, put on a different face depending on who he was talking to. Whenever he hung out with Komsomol guys, they did manly shit. They went hunting. They played sports. This is also where one young hunter nearly Dick Cheney'd Gagarin. I think, like, it's described as the shotgun, both barrels went off, like, an inch in front of Gagarin's feet. And Gagarin just, like, turns to this Komsomol kid and just says, like, hey, man, maybe this isn't your thing.
Wow.
This is, hey, man,
savage.
yeah, I think the quote is, like, you should not pick up a gun again. This isn't your thing.
I mean, to be fair, though, he almost took toes off.
And when they were done with the hunting and fishing, they got drunk, passed out, and then Gagarin woke them up at 4 a.m. for water skiing.
Right.
This is just kind of like, these are the stories that are being presented of, like, Gagarin. He's the biggest, manliest hero. He's the sex symbol. He's doing, like, it's weird. Depending on who they were talking to, Sometimes Gagarin would have to drive his official Soviet car that was like, it was a party apparatchiks car. It was not super fancy. And that's what he used whenever he had to go and talk to people at the Kremlin, because he didn't want to appear too fancy.
I can just imagine him pissed off the entire time having to drive it.
Oh, he was. He hated that car.
It's the car your wife makes you get because it's practical with the kids, like, but you really want, he needed to find the compromise version. Like, what is the Audi RS6 wagon of Soviet apparatchik cars?
Of 1960s, yeah.
I don't know, a Gazchika. But no, just that's the car you make him drive when you want him to haul off and just start shouting at someone an hour later.
Mm.
There's a bunch of fun stories where like he particularly loved pranks, and one of like the most often targets for his pranks were his KGB handlers. And these guys are there to like spy on him, but he treated them like personal servants, so he made them like carry shit around for him. And he particularly loved like driving in his sports car, taking his hands off the wheel at like 100 miles an hour and just like staring at his KGB bodyguard for like 30 seconds. But yeah, basically just like, I know I dance around this and try and find different ways of describing it, but like he's just a frat bro. He's just a frat bro with the entire power of the state backing him up.
Dudes rock.
Terrifying.
Dudes
Honestly,
have never rocked harder. Yeah.
If it wasn't for all the reactionary shit about how like, the West is like pussifying Russian men and like globo homo is coming for us all, I would be significantly more dudes rock about him.
Yeah, look, I mean, ultimately he's a guy from the 50s. And you know what?
Yeah.
He took a gamble. It was like either you die or you become the most famous and cool guy on the planet. And he won that dice roll and he was like, now I'm going to fuck. And you know what? Whom among us?
Yeah, and it worked out for him where like every single facet of Soviet society got a different version of him and they all loved him. Now, the speeches and opinion pieces in newspapers, they were only part of the plan to make Yuri Gagarin a central figure in every Russian kid's education. Another big part was setting up a network of Gagarin loyalists throughout the Russian provinces. See, after his flight, the Soviet media had the problem of reporting on this new celebrity, but also everything about him and the space program was classified. So like the government announced Yuri Gagarin, he's the guy. And if you're a journalist, you can't ask about the space program, you can't ask about his mission. So the only thing you can do is drive out to his hometown and just interview people who knew him as a kid.
This guy went somewhere. We're not going to say where, but it's pretty cool.
This guy cool. Like, why is he cool? It's classified.
Mr. Y. Gagarin. No, that's too obvious. Let's call him Yuri G.
Fucking John Doe. Yeah. But like the weirdest thing is that all of these people who get interviewed, all like the people who knew him in his hometown of Gzhatsk or where he studied in Saratov, they all become their own micro celebrities. Because as Yuri is being put on these pedestals and held up as this like Soviet hero, basically like people start picking apart every element of his childhood and going like, they kind of look at it like a cargo cult. People want to know what games he played as a little kid so that they can get their kids to play those same games and like mathematically force their children into being Yuri Gagarin. Like they interview people who went to school with him. They interview teachers and mentors and whatnot. And for the teachers and mentors, like they always become big celebrities because the story is always presented as them being the ones to mold Yuri Gagarin into the hero he became. The fucking lunch lady at his school becomes a celebrity and people want to know like, all right, but like, how did you prepare the food that fed the great hero Gagarin? And like, she makes a career out of this, out of being like, hey, I cooked Yuri's food. I'm the reason why he's famous.
This is getting more insane.
It's again, like the Gagarin cult does kind of start as a cargo cult because I cannot stress enough how people are just like saying like, oh, Gagarin, like he was right-handed, my left-handed kid, we're going to have to sort that out. Gagarin liked to play tag versus some other game. We got to get our kids playing tag.
You see your kid not playing tag, getting beat immediately.
And this is just kind of something that happens. This is not initially encouraged by Gagarin. This isn't encouraged by the Soviet state. It's just a natural reaction to what the journalists are allowed to talk about. And the only thing they're allowed to do is interview people who knew Gagarin. Like, there are people who went to school with Gagarin who weren't even friends with him, who just happened to go to the same school, and they're able to make full-on careers out of traveling the country and giving speeches about how cool Gagarin was and all the lessons they learned. Like, they do TED Talks. Yeah. A few years later, when Gagarin came back to Gzhatsk as a representative of Komsomol, he used his influence to elevate old friends and teachers. They got gifts and promotions. One thing he liked to do is, like, any coach that he had on, like, a sports team or at school, he made sure that they got the official title of Honored Coach of the USSR. And in exchange, that made them kind of, like, loyal to him. That meant that they would help in propagating this message that Yuri Gagarin is the ultimate role model.
Yeah, cool. I've got my old PE teacher on my team.
This would be like arranging for your old gym teacher to get, like, the Presidential Medal of Freedom or whatever, just because he taught you good.
Yeah. This man may be pedophile, but he is best pedophile in Gzhatsk.
Legendary.
Like, just proximity to Gagarin was fame. You know, if you get that fame, if you happened to meet him at one point when he was a kid, you can translate that into your own fame and fortune. But that also meant that you're loyal to Gagarin because he can cut you off at any time. Another, I don't have this in the script, but another fun thing is that, like, at this time, his hometown, because he's in the Supreme Soviet, he's technically, which is like their Congress, he's technically an elected representative for his hometown of Gzhatsk. It means that his hometown suddenly becomes, like, ridiculously industrialized over the course of, like, 2 years. They get, like, a milk factory, they get a meat factory, they get, like, a science facility built in this town of, like, 200 people. And all of it is, of course, named after Gagarin, and now the town is named Gagarin. Also, his dad fucking hated all of this. He was actually, his dad was, like, a proper mujik, and constantly told off Yuri to his face about how much of, like, a preening, arrogant dick he was. Yeah. Fun times.
It's good to be kept grounded by your parents, you know?
Except that his mother was, like, fully bought in, and right up to her death, she was traveling the Soviet Union, talking, like, giving speeches and lessons to parents about how they could raise their kids to be like Gagarin. She fully buys in. Yuri's dad hates it every moment of his life. Now, unfortunately, this story doesn't really have a nice bow to tie everything up with. There was no real planned end to Yuri Gagarin's work with Komsomol. He was going to remain the ideal Russian role model until he died. And then he did die in 1968 in a plane crash.
This is the thing I think is the most funny about him, is that he, like, throughout his, you know, he manages to go to space and come back alive. Miraculous. No one thought he was going to manage it. And then he just insists on doing just, like, dangerous test pilot shit, and then is just killed in a normal plane crash. Can't write this stuff.
And the crash is definitely something that we will be talking about in the future, in maybe a couple of episodes, because there's so much confusion around it, there's so much history around it, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories around it. That, like, he was shut up for something he was going to reveal. But the reality, as best we understand it, is that because he hadn't been allowed to go to space for so long, and because he'd been so distracted, he was, like, studying engineering because he had to get a degree. Basically, he was kept away from space stuff for so long that his flight license, like his pilot's license, expired. So he was going back. He insisted on retraining as a bid to try and, like, get back onto the Cosmonaut mission roster. And while he's doing this training flight, he crashes and dies. So it may have just been that he was actually really rusty.
Maybe, who knows?
He just couldn't handle it anymore. He lost the touch. He lost the Neutron style.
So without the central animating figure of Gagarin, Star City slowly stopped being the place to go for Soviet elites. They still had big holiday bashes in the insertion, but it just wasn't the same without him. The Gagarin cult, however, kept going strong and only got more deranged as time passed. Yuri's death just meant that there was one less person fighting to control his legacy, making it much easier to rewrite his life based on the needs of whoever was in charge. So in the 80s, when a bunch of documents get released about the early Cosmonaut program, people got to see Gagarin mostly as he was, like a flawed man with a complicated life. A very arrogant kind of dude, like a political chameleon, all of that. And then in the Yeltsin years, tabloids wrote him as pretty much being like Yeltsin, a big, stupid, drunken buffoon. This, of course, changed in the Putin years and has remained pretty consistent since then, with official stories being much more like how Komsomol wanted Gagarin to be treated. He's the ideal Russian role model. He loved the church. He never drank a drop in his life, and he lived every moment for the good of the people.
Just don't think about what happened in the insertion.
No, don't ask about his scar
He lived,
either.
laughed, loved, you know? He embraced life, you know? His chakras were aligned. He did hot yoga. Like, he was great.
For me, you know, like, I know that's wrong. But at the same time, knowing that Yuri was also, like, fully willing to lie about his own life, I think he would have been like, if he were still alive today, like Valentina Tereshkova, I think he would be perfectly happy to be, like, going along with this lie. The same way that his family is. Like, his daughter is in charge of, like, the Yuri Gagarin Museum in Moscow, and she perpetuates these lies about her own dad.
Hmm.
Also, if Yuri were alive today, he would definitely be in United Russia and in the Duma.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
I always need to say it, but, like, you know, Valentina Tereshkova, first woman in space, hooray, also a horrible person and one of the main authors of, like, Russia's anti-gay bill. So fuck her forever.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing I've learned in my lifetime is just because you're famous for doing a big, exciting thing, or even if you're just famous at all, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're automatically, like, a good person. You know?
Yeah. Although they do make for pretty good buffoons. Like, a lot of astronaut politicians are very, like, out there and good at saying stupid shit.
Also, I think that if Yuri Gagarin were alive today, he'd be a podcaster.
Oh, absolutely. And that, everyone, is the story of Yuri Gagarin's life after becoming the first man in space. His strange double life as a Soviet party apparatchik and as a role model for all the young Russians in the fight against hipsters. How are we all feeling?
Yeah.
What a guy.
What a guy.
Truly a weird fucking dude.
I don't think that my opinions on him have changed at all.
Like, I think we had briefly covered it before how he got weird, but the depths of it.
Yeah. Yeah, like he fully...
Like, he already had a rune of madness, but he kept acquiring more of them throughout life.
Yeah, and I definitely want to do a series eventually of, like, talking about, like, doing a biography of him, because his pre-flight life is also very weird. And you can definitely see, like, it tracks a lot of the things he does and believes after his flight once he becomes famous. You know, like, it had been consistent. It had been getting built up. He was a popular dude who knew how to manipulate people even as a kid.
What the hell?
Amazing.
And Milo, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there anything you would like to plug?
Thank you. God, I have 3 podcasts.
My God.
There's Trash Future for politics. There's Masters of Our Domain if you're into history, which I guess you might be if you listen to this. We kind of talk about history stuff. And there's Glue Factory for just pure dumb comedy riffs. Or if you're in the UK, come and see me on tour. I'm on tour at the moment. I've got shows all over the country. You can find all of that shit on my website, miloedwards.co.uk.
Sweet. And listener, if you want to check any of that out, it will be linked down below in the show notes.
Wonderful.
And as for you, listener, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Thank you to everyone who have signed up to support the show. And a big shout out to all of our top tier patrons. Our cyborg cats are Boss, Katiger Reptile, Charlie, Comrade Sleepy Bro, Daniel F, Graham E, Jesselyn T, George 2, Full Frontal Matt Damon, Kamo, Lane of the Wired, Matt, Mobius Striptease, Murray Motorsports, Mysterious Stranger, Noah, Number Negative, Oil Drum, Pat, Paul C, Rare Sprungle Spingus 3rd Edition, Source Force, Spectre Cohen, Tortilla Baron, Vivek and Winksmith. Our space dogs are The Union Thug, A. Lincoln, Ak Yoga, Ak Guy is Best Guy, Agent Carter, Alice N, Andrew K, Angie, Angry Old Man, Yada Yada, Anthony C, Atomic Hobbit, Otto Fox, Baron M, Batday, Ben L, Boomzilla, Brian F, Brian L, C, Caleb, Cantaloupe Was Taken, Chainsaw Snuggling, Chris K, Cole C, Captain Lag, CSD 2016, Daddy Bongo, Daniel, Does Smiley, Double Time, Dr. Shockmaster, Hank, Aaron, Eric J, Fractal Moonlight, Furious Luddite, George B, Grant K, Griffin, former snow shoveler of Burger King, Heiko S, Howl's Moving Pictures by Rush, Ian R, Ian W, Emmanuel L, JM M, James A, James C, James H, James T, Jamie K, Yarl Breadmaker, Jerry M, Jedediah D, John C, John Boy D, Jonathan G, Jonathan W, John Tastic 20x6, Juan Carathago Delenda Est, Kate B, Kate D, Corbin the Dog, Korlev's Condiments, Lenswipe, Lorgath, McLean C, Mar, Martho, Maritza, Mitchell L, Newman Instrumentality Project, Narrow Ebb, New Name, Nicholas S, Norman W, Northeast Driver, NSFW NSA, Oliver, Outlook Cub, Panda, PB, Poop Butt, Randall, RBK, Rato B, Riley, Sailor of Fortune, Sam A, Scott K, Sean F, Sean H, Central Kazoo, Sean P, Sparks, Spirit of Thunder, Swanee, The Best Sean, Thomas M, Tim P, Toasty Ken, Trash Do, Virash T, Brisk, White Vixen, Will W, William O, Zachary JB, Zach, Zemo, Zim, and Zombie Dwarf. Albert Count, 191. Thank you for listening to another episode of Failure to Launch. If you want to follow us, we are Failure to Launch on Blue Sky and FT Launch Pod on Instagram. We also post our episodes with visual aids at Failure to Launch Podcast on YouTube. FTL intro and outro themes were provided by DJ Danarchy.